I think the point was made. It's interesting that we're talking about local tax burden, and the expense side of the equation is getting kind of pushed down a little bit. But everybody knows that property taxes, it's mostly the schools, and schools are mostly labor. And then if you pick apart labor, it's not so much salaries, it's fringe benefits, which is health care and pensions. Your members are dealing with health care costs too. To what extent does that trace back to state government? How much it costs to have health insurance?
Well, universal issue, right? And huge. Certainly in the private sector, amongst our members, probably the leading issue is a cost problem, is the high cost of health insurance for employees. We talk about that a lot. But to this argument, I mean, I go back to sort of the last page of Diana's presentation, where ways to go to the spending side, Bill, you're talking about, are outlined and fundamentally important to us at the Business Council for sure. And yes, in that, the idea that you got to look with the Taylor Law Triborough material, as you talked about, at ability to pay. I think other people have brought that up. And at the growing disparity between public sector employees in those schools or in other functions of local government, between their compensation and benefits and those of the private sector, of many of our Business Council members. And that growing divide where now, of course, the benefits in the public sector employees start to eclipse really far exceed those in the private sector. So, yeah, our members are keen on this for sure, on that issue and on the cost side of the services provided by local governments. Getting back to one that John said, again, the frustration in the business community around STAR. STAR had applied, and it gets back to my point about the message. So property taxes for businesses from 1995 to 2005 rose, I think this is in the CBC study, but by over $1 billion. It was about 58%. It was more than twice the rate of inflation over that same 10-year period. So business owners are just getting whacked. They know this, right, over that in their property taxes. STAR comes along. If business, real hypothetical, but it's about the message again. If business had been included in STAR, it would have saved them something like $600 million in their property taxes, or the equivalent of a 12% property tax reduction. So again, that retailer I talked about before simply sees the property tax bill going up and up and up, sees benefit to the residential property owner through STAR, sees, to John's point, not only at the end of the day school spending rising post-STAR every year, but in every year it rose by a greater percentage than the previous year, up something like 8% last year on average. So these are just the elements of this message about the burden of property taxes on business owners in the state. And the only way, getting back to some of John's points, with which we really agree enthusiastically, we've got to get back to the spending side. And whether it's caps or circuit breakers or, again, I think the 4 bullet points and the related 12 in Diana's slide, be really honest, forest for trees, John, right, about limiting the spending and getting this under control. And that, by the way, even if it's done incrementally, is a positive message that counteracts the impact economically of the message I talked about before. Business owners want to see something moving in the right direction. All of this is going in the wrong direction. But even incremental progress, workers' comp is actually a great example here. Something moving in the right direction sends a message that it's not all bad and there might be hope.